I'm Gavin, I'm 55 and I live in Lancashire in the north of England. I was only diagnosed 3 months ago, so I'm pretty new to that, so I'm 55. So I started off with a cough and I just thought it was a general cough, the same as any other person had a cough, but it persisted for around 6 months, and then after nagging by my wife, I went to see my GP. By that stage I was already breathless, I was struggling to sleep, I had to sleep propped up. Coughing every 10 seconds. So quite severe symptoms that I didn't really realise what the issue was. I've got an underlying health condition of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, so I kind of thought there might be something, but I didn't know. I've never heard of the term heart failure before. In terms of experiencing the symptoms, it was at least 6 months, probably 7 or 8 months, and then my GP ran some tests, a blood test and an echo, and then that's when I was informed that I had heart failure. I think my GP was the first person to mention heart failure, but it wasn't until I was hospitalised about 2 months after the first presenting at the GP, I ended up in hospital, and a cardiologist came to see me while I was still in A&E because I hadn't got a bed at that stage. And he mentioned about the ejection fraction that my heart was suffering. I was in severe heart failure, and that was the first time anybody really said that. But what was more shocking was when he actually said, when you're discharged from hospital, you'll need to start discussing a heart transplant. And then that was that's when the ground fell from underneath me. Initially, I was presenting with breathlessness. I was unable to walk and talk to people. People thought I was jogging while I was talking to them. I was talking to them on the phone. I was coughing persistently by early stages, 20 seconds, every 10 seconds. I was struggling to sleep at night because I was having to be propped up. I felt like I was drowning at night. I can't explain that to anybody that hasn't felt that. I think initially I delayed it by not presenting at my GP earlier with some of the symptoms that I was suffering, and that's one thing I would advise people that are suffering similar symptoms to present earlier at the GP. I think there was a delay from my first presenting at the GP to trying to see my cardiologist. It was nearly 4 months before I could get in to see my regular cardiologist, who I should have been seeing every 6 months anyway, but I had a 5-year period of not seeing a cardiologist. I'm not aware of a single test for a blood test for heart failure. I think anybody who suffers from or gets a diagnosis of heart failure will feel an impact. There's the initial sort of rabbits in the headlight moment when you get told something, but you don't really take it in, you don't really understand what it is that you've just been told. And you're reliant on other people that have heard the thing. So in my case, my wife was the person that was with me and my son. So they're the people that repeated back some of the information that I thought I'd heard. You then start to think about what you can do and what you can't do. And I think as well as the physical restrictions that are created by heart failure, there's a mental impairment. So you're unsure about what you can do and what you should be doing. And you're having to deal with not only your awareness of what's happening to you and your body, but also the impact it's having on your families. It's almost like they're starting to grieve already before anything has happened, anything serious has happened. So you're having to deal with other people's impact of what you're telling them. And I felt that I had a duty to restrict the information at first, to make it so that other people, the people that were a priority for me, my close family members, and got to know that information first. It would have helped me in the first instance if somebody would have explained that they were potentially looking at heart failure and what heart failure was and what it really meant. And if there had been a simple video that explained it in very layman's terms, that would have explained it much simpler than big words like ejection fraction, the medical terms, the more clinical terms. So people using simple language. And I think in terms of the consultant that mentioned, the cardiologist that mentioned that I might need a heart transplant, and then sort of 30 seconds later leaving the room and leaving me to it, I think there could have been more of a compassionate way of delivering that message.